Thank you for the better pictures. I greatly appreciate that.
Well, I gave you what you wanted.
And this is exactly why I love you, brother. Because you have me looking jacked up. But I thank you. And how y'all doing? You see, I got out a little early today. I got out a little early today and it's raining and my allergies, so yeah.
Yeah, we're about to start in a minute.
Yeah, I know, but what can you let me know what the subject is again?
I sent it to you. I'll talk about it. Give me a second.
Okay.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that. Spitting slow, spitting fast. I could roast, I could gas. Think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past. And the pettiness, a reflection of the emptiness. Hilarious, you think you're worth my time, you're delirious. Mysterious, because you hide behind a fake exterior. Inferior, you know I'll always be a bit superior. Get off of me, this ain't no humble brag. I want you to hear words, you can say them back. I want you to feel free from the chains at last, and to believe in what you got, it was built to last, yeah. Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love.
The views expressed are those of the participants and do not represent an endorsement of any particular position, program, religion, or political affiliation. DFG's Corner is intended to provide information, observations, and entertainment. Guests are encouraged to comment, like, share, or subscribe.
Welcome, everybody. This is DFG, the man with the golden voice, the lady's choice, and of course, I'm smooth as a Rolls Royce. I'm coming to you live from the 571 where I'm having fun and I'm getting things done. Today, it took me a while to figure out what I was going to talk about. I was trying to figure out, and then I reached back into some of my old notes and came up with something, and I sent it out to a few people. Today's topic, we'll first talk about why do we make lists of what we want in a partner when it seems that when we get it, the person was not what we wanted. And then secondly, what role does faith have in gaining and maintaining a relationship? Before I go on, I want to I want to let my team introduce themselves. First is my sister from the same Mister, my favorite girl, the Chocolate Pearl. What's going on, Pearl?
Hey, y'all. It's Chocolate Pearl from Duval. A little tired. I gotta do some early morning hours, long hours, 10-hour days all this week. So if I'm dragging, that's why.
Well, you
So,
probably
but
dragging because
that
you
was a
got a
good
medium
question
sized
you got out.
wagon.
Say it again.
You probably dragging because you got a medium sized wagon.
Well, my wagon ain't never been medium, but okay.
But anyway, I want to talk to the woman, the Binghamton's own, the best and not the least. My sister who's never mean. She's not green. Yeah, let's introduce you to Bean. What's going on, Bean? Holla at your boy.
Yeah, I'm on time. I'm happy. Yay. Goes and everybody gets something from it like we usually do. I just don't know what the topic is.
I
I'm
just
glad
told you
that
the
you, yeah, no, I know. I didn't, now I have to actually put my thinking cap on and think of something to say because, yeah, I don't do lists.
but you have to admit that lists are the things that happen though, right?
Yes. How I feel is like, especially when I was younger, we did the list of what we would like, but then life smacked me in the face and the back of the head and then punched me in the stomach and was like, yeah, yeah, those are expectations. You have to you have to realize everybody is different, and just because you like something, you might like something else when you get older, or you might like something else out of your partner than you actually thought you would. So I don't know, because I've like, oh, I want this, this, and this. I got it. Then I really didn't want that, but I wanted something different. Like I wanted somebody to be able to conversate with me. But then I realized that I block half the people conversations out and zone out. So that's not good for me in a relationship because I don't listen half the time. So how am I gonna be? How do I want to be with somebody that wants to conversate with me and I'm just zoning out because you're boring? So
Yeah, yeah. Somebody you related to that did that when they were alive. You be talking to them and then they be like, "What? What you talking about?" And you know what I'm talking about.
and it's not on purpose. I just I as Apple says, I have the attention span the size of a net.
Yep.
So and yeah, so I'll try. I do my best to work on it and be present in conversations. This is why I'm glad that I'm more focused on trying to make it here every Tuesday on time, or
And
at
I
least make
appreciate
it.
that. And I definitely appreciate that. Before I go on, I want to thank our usual our other family members that are here. So DJ Dabs, Miss Dream, Miss Kim, and our resident thespian, Miss Summer. Also Miss Nikki and Miss Jackie over in YouTube land. And I just added another site. I'm not only on TikTok Live, not only on Instagram Live, not only on Facebook Live. I'm on Rumble Live. So if y'all don't have Rumble, go to Rumble. It's like YouTube, but you can do a lot more. I'll be uploading things to that. I also got a Substack. Check out my link tree in my bio. I made while researching what I want to talk about. I made a couple of AI videos that kind of gives a context. I put in the YouTube, put in the Google, what do men want from women and what do women want from men. Just it's about a minute long, so I'm gonna sit back and let them.
What men and women look for in a partner understanding relationship preferences. Have you ever wondered what men and women truly look for in a partner? In today's video, we'll break down the qualities people often value most in relationships. Let's start with men. While everyone's preferences are unique, many men are drawn to core qualities like respect, loyalty, kindness, and a good sense of humor. Intelligence and confidence are also highly valued, as well as having similar life goals and values. Of course, physical attraction, a youthful appearance, and personality traits such as independence and optimism can play a role too. Now let's talk about women. Much like men, women appreciate partners who are kind, respectful, and emotionally intelligent. A good sense of humor, ambition, and confidence are common traits they look for as well. Physical appearance matters to some, but personality and shared values often weigh just as heavily. Remember, what appeals to one person might not appeal to another. Preferences are as individual as we are. Ultimately, there's no single formula for attraction. Both men and women seek a blend of personality, values, and chemistry that feels right for them. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more insights into relationships and human behavior.
That took me about 20 minutes to make. I'm getting better. I'm getting better. But I'm gonna start off with Big Al, my pal down there in lovely 706, originally from the 308. Big Al, what the that video we just saw? What do you think about that? Is it off? Is it close? Is it there?
I think it's close, but one of the things I'd like to address is your first part of your question about lists. And I think the problem with lists is that we come up with unrealistic things that we want. And then early on in relationships, we articulate that to a person that we're dating. And I think a lot of times, both on the men and women's side, we'll perpetrate. Perpetrate mean that we'll pretend that we're this way when we're really a totally different way. So for me individually, it's about communications. If I got a lady who can communicate, who has some uh, knowledge about worldly events and what's going on, across this nation, then we're good to go. I'm not caught up on looks, size, how tall you are, how much you weigh, how long your hair is, and all that. I just want to be able to communicate and have a connections with you mentally, intellectually, and spiritually.
That's good, Big Al. I mean, a lot of times we don't look at it from that scenario. And that was one thing I always said that when you make a list and you find everybody that meets that everything on your list, they usually ain't the one you really want. So I'm not saying lists are bad. You should have non-negotiables, but you can't. There's such a thing called 80-20. If you watched what think like not why did I get married parts one, and they talked about the 80-20. A lot of people are willing to throw away the 80 to try to get that 100%. And we know that 100% person doesn't exist, but we still chase it anyway. I'm gonna move over and ask Dream. Dream, what did you think about what Big Al said? What did you think about what the video said? What the video said? You're on mute.
Sorry. Okay. I agree with what Big Al said. And similarly, basically what you're saying, I don't think there's like a perfection type of thing. So I think we all want different things and are searching for whatever it is we think or we might feel that we want. But I think we just have to kind of play that 80-20 rule and be as happy as we can be, knowing that if you're always running around searching for the next best thing, it's going to be time consuming. And I don't know if such a thing really exists.
That makes sense. You want to add something some.
Everybody. So I think that's a young thing. When you start off, you have this list of the perfect guy and everything you want, and then as you get older, the realism hits, and you find that there are other qualities that are more important than certain things, and so you mature. And I think that's about it. But I agree with Big Al. It's what's in your head, how you think, how you carry yourself. It's a lot more than just looks.
But looks is what we see, and more than likely, you don't see a personality walking down the street now. In the times of the internet and the interwebs, it's probably you probably fall for the personality before you fall for the person, because if that wasn't the case, then not, a lot of people wouldn't be getting catfished. So, but making the list, and you're right, it does start young, but there are some older people, men and women, that they just get older in age. They don't get older in sense. And if you 40, 50, and you still looking for a guy with 6 inches, six pack, and make six figures, what you can, I say, pick one of the three. You ain't gonna get all three. You might get two if you're lucky, but you ain't getting all three. So, but some women say, "Well, I got standards." You should have standards. Some guys want uh, a a woman that's got 50 years experience but zero bodies. Now, how's that make sense? If I'm 40, 50, and I'm trying to get up with a 21-year-old, first of all, in my opinion, adults are adults, but that's nasty. and two, and two, you know, unless they know each other, it's a power dynamic. It's a power imbalance. But you know, it's unrealistic if you think you're going to get that. If you're going to get that size zero 21-year-old with two bodies or less, and you know, and they totally into you. That's not. I mean, can it happen? Yes. Will it happen? Probably not. The probability of that is slim to none. Now, one of the things, Miss Kim, that list that was read on that video, are those things that most women want from guys, or is it just a few women, all women, no women?
Um, yeah, I would say some women would want what's on that list. And as you grow and mature, not so much. I know for myself, I never really had a list. Um, Never really thought about making a list. It was just always just kept the faith and trial and error until I got it right.
Was it more trial than error, or more error than trial?
More error than trials. Made a whole lot of mistakes, but you learn from the man. Well, some people do, not everybody.
I was gonna say, because if you're making the same mistake you made at 20, you making it at 50, you ain't learned from your mistake. you just you
I
just out,
definitely learned from mine.
you're, def-
Trust.
you're definitely out there. DJ Dabs, as far as what men want from women in that video, did they give a decent listing? Is there anything you would add or take away?
Um, I don't. I haven't really did a list like that. I was just gonna say we're just sitting here talking about it because now I thought, well, I kind of had a list, and when I was on the dating website, but it wasn't like those kind of things. It was like, okay, number one, she had to go to church. Um, it was no smoking. Those kind of things. Um, because it wasn't, she got to look like this, she got to have that. It wasn't those kind of things. It was just kind of things that I believe in. that I wanted, that I wouldn't be with that person anyway, so it didn't matter.
Right, right.
Yeah. So
And what I've noticed is that if a woman likes a man, or a man likes a woman, they'll take more of that 20%. They'll work with that 20%. If I ain't really feeling you like that, and you want something, and I can get something from you, I'm going to put up as many standards as possible, because I want to do. You know, you're a tool to me. You're something that I can use, and I'm not saying
right,
use it as in controlling or anything like that. I mean use as in, if when people say, and this is on a lot of dating shows and dating podcasts, what the more a woman wants in that first date, the less she's interested in the person she's trying to date, whether it be man or woman. Because if you expect a $250 date, I meet you on Tuesday, we go out on Friday and spend $250 on you and expect it, you ain't really feeling me like that. And that's just, I mean, y'all can disagree with me, but that's the way I feel. I used to use an analogy in the club. Everybody put a hand up if you've been to the club. I'm sure everybody here has been in the club. And I don't have any numbers on that, but when it comes to those type of environments, women will give their body before they give up their cash. Go ahead, Chocolate Pearl.
You just said to put a hand up. I was trying to work my
Okay.
reactions.
All right. Oh, my bad. But like I said, if you take 10 women and you go to the club, they go to the same club, and they meet a guy, and he walks up, they vibing, they dancing, they vibing. At the end of the night, out of those 10 women, if a guy says, yo, I'm really feeling you, and I think we can go somewhere, but I need $500 or I need $50. Out of those 10 women, how many of them do you think would give that man $50? Just met him.
First of all, a woman ain't gonna give a man no money in the first time they meet in the first place. So that scenario is just plain stupid.
No, no. See, I'm saying that to make a point.
Well,
Now,
no, I'm just saying because we know that whether you superficial or not, a woman's not gonna give a man no money on the first day that they meet him,
Oh, I
unless you
beg to
know that they
differ.
homeless.
I know one.
For real?
Oh
I
beg
yeah,
to
don't
differ
before
believe
I
as
that.
moved
I
to
well.
don't believe that
Virginia,
either.
back in Augusta, Georgia, she gave up her life saving to be with a man. DFG know exactly what I'm talking
I
about.
know who you're talking about.
First date though, right?
That's
Oh
crazy.
yeah.
Yeah, let me fill y'all in on that. Lady worked, a veteran, retired veteran, was married, got divorced, had kids. She met a guy, and before she even met him, she gave him like 5K out her pocket. He was a preacher, or
Fake.
he called himself a preacher. I gotta say that. I can't say that he's not a preacher, but he called himself a preacher. Kim did the research, found out the dude, he was kind of fabulous first. He would never he would never take her out. She would drive to him. He never came to her.
Mm-mm.
He he had a he she found out he had a wife,
Wow.
and he was like, no, that's not my wife, that's my sister. And she still kept giving him money.
Dropped 10K to get his so-called Maserati
Body
fix.
out the dealership.
Yep.
He said he was a successful preacher, and he had some social media posts of him preaching. However, like I said, let's just say he was looking kind of suspect. And, Kim being the friend that she is, she said, here's the evidence. Here's the evidence, and I don't think he is who he says he is. And she met the guy and she slept with him first time, the whole nine. But she just kept going, and we don't know what happened because that was like 3-4 years ago. But yeah, that's not but you're right. You're right, Pearl. You're right, Bean. That ain't the first. I mean, I would say 1 out of 10 would give a man $50 off beating them. Now take those same 10 women, go to the
I'm
club.
sorry. There's millions of no, excuse me. There's thousands of projects filled with them.
That'll give
A
men
lot of
money
public
off the.
houses are filled with women, with men in their houses that they're giving their money to, and
But was it off the bat
they,
though? Or did he have to
yeah.
throw that?
The
Did
first
he have to
time,
throw
like,
that
babe,
finger thing?
oh, babe, can you? I know you get paid on Friday. I'm a little short. Do you think you could lend me something and I'll hit you back when I get it back? There's a lot of that. There's a
Is that
lot of
on the
that.
first
But
date?
then they expect you to be a wife and you're not being a you want me to be a caregiver for you and give up everything, body, soul, money, all of that. But
Yes, but that's
you think that all you have to do is sweet talk me and get into my pants. That's all it has to do. And then yeah, because I'm desperate, I'm going to take the little bit and I'm gonna throw the list that I had my whole life away and just accept a little bit of everything that this man is giving me, telling me, and leading me to believe. That's just something that I've seen. I've seen over the years, and I accepted some of that, and I could say that I accepted some of that a lot, like when I was younger. Now I just don't care. No, I don't want you in my face. You could be a friend and a friend only, and even then you have to go because you're annoying. Go home.
and
My bed is
and
more important to me right now.
and I do say sometimes I say, good deed covers a multitude of sins. Some you wanted to add something?
No, I was just going to say that I think that uh, because society is that it is, there is a show, I don't know if anybody's ever seen it. It's called Love is Blind. And it's where people meet without seeing each other. So they meet, they get to know each other's personality, what they're, just talking to somebody. And then eventually what happens is if they really want to pursue each other, because I guess the whole purpose of them is these are both men and women who both want to be in a committed relationship. So they are committed, they're 100% sure they're trying to find somebody and they're just talking and then what happens eventually is they do meet, but by that time they are extremely close. And so when they meet, that's just kind of like the icing on the cake. And then they pursue another part of their relationship where they are together and learning each other that way. But I just think that, the way these shows and stuff are going now is because you don't know what you're going to get. Anybody can be fabulous online. And then when you meet them in person, it's something totally different. So this, I guess, was a way, a social experiment to get to know a person for who they are inside. And so I thought that was really interesting. I thought that was an interesting concept. I just didn't know if anybody else had seen that or not.
Inside or inside? Those are two different things now.
So I guess, just basically family, where they stand on family, religion, social topics, things of that nature. See if they click that way. See if they, like each other's personality and if they can visualize themselves with that person just based off of their beliefs and if, I guess how close they are with their family, as an example, things of that nature. And then once they reached a certain point, then I guess it's the other inside to see if they're compatible that way. But they met and talked with each other for like a long, extended period of time, so that by the time they meet, it's like, okay, all right, so now let's see if, this, because I've heard 1,000 times on the show, this is somebody that I would see on the street and I wouldn't talk to. But this is why I like this experiment, because, it's making me look deeper inside of a person. And, I could see myself based off of their personality, seeing myself with them long term. So I just thought that was interesting.
And that makes sense. It is, and like I said, it's easier to do all over line because you never know until you see the person that they are who they are. But going back to what I was talking about, those take those same women and go to the club, and how many out of those 10, how many would give up the boots on the first night, you think?
Uh, I'm gonna say 7.
Okay. Any other number?
I'm gonna say 2.
I,
Okay.
I was gonna say at least 5.
Out of how
Okay.
many women?
Out of 10.
I don't know. You know what? I don't know, because there's a lot of, and this is an adult conversation, but there's a lot of toys and things and stuff out there that, you know what I'm saying, that
I understand
hold
that,
people
but
down. So I don't know. It depends on how
That holds them
thirsty.
down when they don't have somebody, but when they got somebody, they rushing.
so because you were a military spouse, and an example, your husband deployed, and that's when the clubs will fill up, and you see a lot of un you see a lot of suntan fingers.
Yes, sir. I know about that.
And so how many of those women would take somebody home that night out of 10? And it all depends, but my point is, the answer is much higher than the ones that give up money on the first meeting.
Right.
You, you see,
That's
Exactly. That's
that's
why I
a
said 7. And I was being nice.
that's a good question.
Hey,
See,
I
and
worked at the military club, bro. 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10. I've
Ooh.
been there and seen it.
well, you
Wow.
know what? I would have been that one, because when I first went into the military with my husband, one of the wives sat me down and she briefed me on what I could expect. And so by the time we finished and we sat down, I was so scared to leave my house, because I did not want to even be associated with certain type of, of the wives that were into certain things. And so it's a lot. I can,
but
yeah, it's a lot.
right. But that was my point. My point. That was my point, because it goes back to, if you like somebody, especially women. This is what I see. Women will break rules for the guys they like. They'll make rules for the guys that they ain't feeling like that. Because you cannot, none of y'all women here can honestly tell me that y'all never went to the club with a bunch of girls and one of them just ran off with the first person, not the first person, one of them went home with somebody at some time in
Yeah,
your life.
yeah, I've seen
Yeah, I
that,
had
and
friends.
I've been left at a club that way, and they were my ride.
That's when it
So
sucks
yeah,
the most.
yeah, that's happened twice in my life, and then one
Girl,
time it was in
same,
Jersey.
same.
Yeah, one time was in Jersey, and I ain't never stepped foot in Jersey in my life, and I'm like, how you going to? I'm like, I'm lucky. I knew there was a path somewhere in that town.
But that's
No,
what I'm saying though.
no.
That's what I'm saying. So that was my point. And it's
That
not.
I think that was before we knew what girl code was. We knew about girl power, but
Look.
it was never about it was never, it was always hoes before bros, but it was never um you know is never hers before him's. Like you my dog. You supposed to, if we leave together, even though we were taught that as females, if you go together, you leave together.
Yeah,
That's
Our
why I never
sister,
experienced what y'all did because I went with somebody. I always went with a couple of people, but we all went back home at the same time. But I wasn't a big club person anyway. But still, when I did go, we all left at the same time because you weren't gonna leave me.
yeah, see, look, and then no, and then and it's crazy. I'm like, okay, you're supposed to be my friend, and I understand he's cute or anything. Okay, tell us to come on, and he could give us a ride home. If I tell like, come on, let's ride with you. We gotta make sure you all right. You could drop us off and then take her where you need to go. Don't leave me in the club or don't leave me in a town I ain't never been in.
That happens more often than you think. Big Al, what you got to say?
Yeah, in a town that's uh, primarily naval bases where sailors are going to get on the ship and go out to sea for 3 to 4 months, that number is going to be either 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10. Because once you're out on the water, you can't just come back. On an Army base or Marine, you may go to the field, but you can always come back. And having served in Norfolk, Virginia, uh, I'm telling you, when those fleets go out to sea, the clubs fill up
yep.
and you don't have no problem taking somebody home.
Okay, but Big
That's what I
Al,
was saying, Big Al.
I knew the ships go out, and I know all of that with but wasn't there also a spike in Babies R Us? Because I swear, when I got into the military with my husband, we were stationed Fort Drum, New York, and it was cold, and all I saw were pregnant women. I mean, we went into the mall, it was cribs and strollers, and so it's like
When they came back home.
somebody told these soldiers that when you get ready to get deployed, go on and get your wife set up so that she'll be at home good and pregnant and waiting on you when you get back. So
That don't stop. You know that don't stop some of them, especially you were at drum. I was at drum. I was at drum too, and Bean can verify that. You know them two clubs. You remember the staff duty used to be out there, and they wait the soldiers in the
What,
spring.
in
They wait for the
Columbia?
no upstate New York when Naheem was a baby.
Oh, well, yeah, okay. I don't remember the names of it. I know we got shot at a couple of times.
But like I said, at drum, most of them waited for the Canadian horde to come down. So those big those Alabaster Annies that were high calorie would come down, and that's what the infantrymen wanted. So the wives didn't go out as much on drum, but they were there though. I agree with you. I was, like I said, I've been in the frozen chosen. You still got your hand up. You still got something to say? Okay. The next part of the question was, what role does faith play in gaining and maintaining a relationship? Now, and I'm not saying that you gotta have all of that stuff, like, you're a super Christian or a super Muslim or super Hindu or whatever. But how does faith get with you, and how do you figure your way through faith, and how does that get you to wherever you got to go? A friend of mine answered one of the questions, and she says faith plays a role that two people involved wanted to play. I hate to be cliche, but it goes back to being equally yoked. That applies to morals and core values. I'm gonna play this video I put together that talks about. I asked the same thing about it as AI about this.
Building strong relationships. How shared beliefs can strengthen partnership. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today, we're diving into a fascinating and often overlooked aspect of relationships: The role of faith, whether you're spiritual, religious, or simply value a shared sense of purpose, faith can be a powerful force in building trust, connection, and resilience with your partner. Segment 1. The foundation of trust. Let's start with trust. One of the essential pillars in any relationship, faith, whether in each other, in a higher power, or in the future, can provide a strong foundation for trust. When couples share similar beliefs or values, they often find it easier to support one another and navigate life's inevitable ups and downs together. Segment 2. Deepening connection. Next, let's talk about connection. Practicing shared rituals, attending services, or even just talking about your beliefs can foster a deeper emotional bond. These experiences help partners feel more understood, provide common ground for making decisions, and strengthen the sense that you're truly a team. Segment 3. Navigating challenges together. Every relationship faces challenges. Faith can offer comfort and perspective in tough times, reminding couples of their values and the bigger picture. Spiritual practices like prayer, meditation, or reading inspirational texts can also be powerful tools for coping with stress and maintaining hope. Segment 4. A sense of purpose. Finally, faith can lend relationships a greater sense of purpose. When partners share a vision or a higher calling, they're often more motivated to grow together and support one another's dreams. This sense of meaning can make the relationship feel more fulfilling and resilient in the face of adversity. COF. So, whether your faith is rooted in religion, spirituality, or simply a strong belief in your shared future, it can be a cornerstone of a happy, healthy partnership. Thanks for watching. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more discussions on relationships and personal growth. See you next time.
I tell you, AI can do a lot of good stuff, a lot of stuff. I'm gonna go to Apple. Apple, what do you think about faith?
I kind of agree with I think it was some you have to be evenly yoked. Whether like the video said, whether it's religion, morals, or what have you, you have to have some kind of equal footing and have the same beliefs more or less. And that makes a good relationship, because if I believe in one thing and you believe in another, like, okay, let me make an example of, I'm married, my husband is a Trumper and I'm not. That's going to cause discord in the marriage because we don't have the same core values. We don't have the same core beliefs. We don't have the same faith. And I think you have to have, you can disagree on something, but things like that, that's a core value. That shows you what type of person you're dealing with. And I think it's important that we match in that way.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm making sense, but
no, you're making sense. You're making sense. That's more of a kind of one over the world type deal. But yes, you're making sense. Big Al?
Yeah, I believe the faith is key in determining how long the relationship is going to last. So if there's a strong sense of spiritual or religious faith, then I think that's going to lend to a longer relationship, because you have that trust, that common ground. The prayer life is, I think, is going to help you overcome some obstacles, because if you really like the person, then through prayer, you're going to ask God to please help me to understand why she's doing a certain thing or why he's doing a certain thing. And you actually pray together, I think strengthens that relationship. And without the faith, you just say, hey, the hell with him or the hell with her, and you go on and you give up. That's Big Al's 2 cents.
Oh no. I mean,
I agree. I agree with you.
you're making a lot of sense. You're making sense. Nobody, I mean, there's no real wrong answer, because your faith is your faith and your beliefs are your beliefs. You would hope that the person that you're with, you're able to grow and look beyond our personal limitations and shortcomings, and look to be a whole, as a part of a whole, vice being two individuals doing individual things. Because I always say in relationships, you're either growing apart or you're growing together. But you're and that's I know that's oversimplifying things, but that tells me that if you don't believe in the same things, it's not going to last. You may be sexually attracted to somebody. You may like the way they talk. You might like the way they look. You might like the way they treat you. But overall, if are they good for you and are they good to you? If they're good to you but not good for you, you're going to have issues because you're not thinking. It's like what Apple was saying. Um, yeah, they treat me well, but overall, I can't deal with the fact that they follow the president unequivocally and the president can't do any wrong. If they're good to you, they're good for you and not good to you, then that person really good to you? Or is that person really good for you if they're not good for you and to you? I know that's a rhetorical question. It's kind of complex, but you can you can be good for them to keep them on the straight and narrow and have all their needs met, all their physical needs or financial needs. But if you're not good to them, what does that really mean? What does that really mean? Yeah, they treat me decent, but I'm not growing. I don't feel close to this person. I don't feel that I'm moving forward. Am I making sense on that? Miss Dream, what do you think about faith and what do you think about faith and getting and maintaining a relationship?
And I think faith is always one of those things where I think relationships in general, you actually step out on faith when you decide to just, kind of like connect with whoever that person is. And sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't work out. If you are not doing it on a faith type of situation, you're coming into it to me with, I don't know what type of expectations, but if I feel like whenever you connect with someone, you want to step out of faith and you want to hopefully have that wherewithal to say to yourself, I want this to work out. It may not be perfect, but I need to kind of just have faith that we will connect and continue to grow and develop together. Because people are always changing. Even when you're with them and you've met them, they're not going to be the same. They start off one way and then before you know it, they're a little bit different or something is different about them. And I think that's where you have to kind of have that wherewithal to, and I think it comes with maturity because I think when you're younger per se, you don't always have that or aware of it. But I think when you get older, you realize, well, if I really want to be in a relationship with someone, whatever my non-negotiables are, I'm gonna have to. Hopefully, I get those, and then with everything else, I'm just gonna have to kind of step out on faith and do the 80-20 rule.
What do you think, DJ Dabs? I gotta be smarter than the equipment. I was talking, y'all was on mute.
Oh, my headphone just went out.
No, it's working. It's working.
No, I can't hear that. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I can hear you.
Oh, okay. I can't hear him. I can't hear
I was on mute.
Can you hear him talking to you now?
Yeah, it's on my computer. My headphone went out. So yeah, I was just sitting here thinking, about that. I don't know about the whole. I guess it really depends on, how you and your partner put yourself. Because I do know a couple of people who, being brought up on the other side of the aisle, and in the same household. So there's things that you can not agree upon, but you can work it out and make something happen. And then people either set their ways, and things could happen, things could change. As we were talking about the first part of this about the list, And I'm sitting here going over the list again, and I thought about something I had said about the list. I'm looking for a church girl and this, and these are the things that I didn't want or wanted, and those things happen to change. It may not been, and that's just obviously it wasn't for the worst because we're about to get married next year, but I would have never dated a woman who smoked weed. There's just no way. I never have, but I was able to look past that 420 thing and and look at the person versus, and then sometimes we get stuck, like I said, on that list thing, and you got to look past that sometimes. So I guess I look past that because if you would have talked to me out there, you would have.
Yeah, and the thing about that, Dabs, is that, like I said, as you get older, and you got to figure out the reason why a person does what they do, and two, can you adjust to it? I'm not going to say totally accept it, but can you adjust to it? So I agree with you on that level. Um, a lot of times we look at things and it's like, I can't see myself doing that. I can't see myself being with this person. I can't see myself acquiescing to that. But then, do you throw away the baby with the bathwater? Do you get to a point where you're I mean, there are things that they're non-negotiables. I Everybody has a
Right.
non. However, there are things that saying, okay, if it's not harming the relationship, I may not personally like it, but I can live with it. And that's, a lot of us as we get more seasoned in life, we start to learn that. Say, you ain't settling. It's just that sometimes you got to say, that's not a battle I'm willing to fight at this time, because
Right.
some battles ain't worth it. Yeah, if I win, I'm by myself, and the person who would put up with my dumb behind is moved on, and I'm feeling bad for myself when I should be mad at myself for not understanding and getting to know that person and talking through stuff, instead of just being judgy McJudgy, and saying, I'm not going to do this. Now, if it's something that hurts you, if it's something that will put you in a bad position, if it's something that you ain't feeling, yeah, definitely not. Definitely, you ought to be like, nah, I can't do that. If they like throwing people off of tall buildings, that's kind of a deal breaker. Because if they could do it to somebody else, they eventually going to do it to you. However, if they smoke a little bud every once in a while, or they got arthritis and they need it for their glaucoma, um,
or their cancer.
yeah, for chronic pain, and it helps them feel better. That's something I can live with. That's something I can live with, because I'm sure there's something about me that people be like, man, if I didn't like this person, I'd be gone. But they say, but and that's just how people are. You have to have the maturity, and you have to have the inner strength to accept people and be where they are. Sometimes you want better for the person. Sometimes the person just not going to get to your expectation. That's going back to the list. If somebody can meet all that stuff, a lot of times they're not going to meet your expectation, because are they meeting it to please you, or are they meeting that because that's who they are? Those are the questions that you need to ask. And the same thing with faith. Are they using faith as a tool or as a guide? So those are things that we need to look at, and how we deal with our significant others, with our friends, with our family, and making sure that we're doing what we need to do to be the best person we can be. So where it should be improving each other. Doesn't always have to be a battle, doesn't always have to be a fight, but there has to be a shared goal, a shared coordination, a shared measure to get to go where you both want to go in the same direction. Because if y'all growing apart, y'all growing, yeah, but y'all growing in different directions. And that's how you start off when you start off like this and then wind up like this. And you don't figure out. So you have to have constant. You have to in the army we call them azimuth checks because I'm gonna get a little military technical here. We had this thing called the obstacle course, not the obstacle course, the land navigation course. And before GPS, you had a compass. What you would do, you walk 50 meters and count how many steps you walked, and that was your count. If you're off by a partial degree and you have a drift and you don't account for your drift, you can wind up thinking you're in the right place, but you be 200 meters apart from where you're supposed to be, and you fail the test. So it's always good to check where you are, making sure you're going in the right direction, and making sure that whoever's with you is going in the right direction, y'all going in the same direction. Otherwise, y'all be 200 meters apart and figuring out, no, you wrong, no, you wrong, and then it becomes irreconcilable differences. I'm gonna ask Bean, did I make sense with that?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just making sure. Uh, you know,
Okay, I'm gonna be honest because I was partially on hearing, but when you started talking about geography and stuff like that in the military terms, I tuned in, but then I caught up. But yeah, I believe you're right. If you is saying that we're in the same book but not on the same page, basically.
right, exactly. You got it. That's why I love you because you catch on quick. But overall, the lessons are you got to know yourself. You got to know who you're with. Um, people, you know, you got to understand if some people have bad days, and if you can't get past that, then you have issues to where it becomes resentment, and resentment also, that person's on, you have everything on your list, but if you start resenting them, then are y'all still going in the same direction? But I have run out of topic, and I'm not gonna keep everybody on. We're about 5 minutes before the show's supposed to end, but I'm cool with that. Does anybody else want to add to the show? And if you have any other topics y'all want me to cover, let me know. Email um, DELITE, the number 7 at gmail.com. If you want to find out what's going on, we talk about anything and everything. We don't just talk about one issue. Hopefully we can continue growing the show. I appreciate my co-hosts. And before we go, I'm gonna have each one of them say a little thing. I'm gonna start off with Apple since she was on CP. Well, Apple, what did you think about the show?
A good show as always. It's good, informative, and I love the discussion because, as you said, we do make lists when we're younger about what we want in a mate, and then when we actually get that, I always tell people that I'm involved with. If they say, "Well, I'm not perfect," perfection is boring. Who wants to be with somebody perfect? If you're perfect for me, that's one thing, but nobody wants to be with someone that's absolutely perfect. That means they can do no wrong. There's no room for improvement, no room for growth. So I just thought it was an interesting subject because
Okay.
I've been there on both ends where I settled, where I gave more than I was getting. It just was, and it was just interesting. Really, really, really love this conversation.
Oh, that's good. Bean.
I'm gonna hop in and say, um, if you make a list, make sure you don't put it in permanent marker. Do it in pencil so you could erase and add what you want and what you don't want. And that's the only way it's going to work out. That's all I got to say. Good night.
Chocolate Pearl.
Well, I love what Apple said. I concur with her 100, even with being, this was a good topic. I know I didn't put too much into it today. However, all the other participants did very well in maintaining this topic, and I thank you. Also, just a little quick thing, Daz had to remind me that I did have a list before I met him. But yeah, he failed that list. But guess what? What's for me, God puts in front of me. What's
That's
not for me,
good.
He takes it
That,
away.
that's good. That's good. Before I go, I want to thank everybody who came on tonight. Miss Dream, Miss Sum, Miss Kim, Miss Nikki, Miss Jackie on YouTube. Those out there in TikTok land, in IG land, in Rumble land, in Facebook land. I want to thank each and every one of y'all for coming on. I want to thank Big Al, who's that's my go-to dude. He's always coming with wise takes, and he's seasoned enough. And only thing wrong with him, he sports that black and gold. But other than that, he's a good dude. Well, he's still a good dude regardless, though. And as for me, I am the DFG, the Doctor Feel Good, the man with the plan that always lands. And I want y'all to know that we are here every Tuesday. Rain, shine, sleet, snow, heat, rats, roaches, and all that other good stuff. We are here every Tuesday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time or Eastern Daylight Time. And we want y'all to go tell a phone, tell a friend that DFG's Corner is back again. And if you can't find somebody to laugh at, don't laugh at yourself. I did that wrong, so let me do that over. If you find you can't laugh at yourself, find somebody else to laugh at. This is DFG, and I want y'all to have a great evening and enjoy what we've done here.
I laugh at you.
Peace.